Well, it's great to be joined in the studio now by Jonathan Ware from the Northampton Winter Light Trail, which is back for 2025 and always a highlight of the Christmas period in Northampton, and great to see it back again this year. I guess it's taken a lot of organising to get to this stage where you're almost ready to open to the public.
Absolutely, yeah. It all starts from actually early in January this year is when we get starting. As soon as we've closed down the previous year's light trail, it's onto the new one.
Wow, and I think this year is going to be even bigger than ever. It's over a mile long, isn't it? And not only the lights, there's all of the kind of like the festive food village with different vendors and like a festive chalet with the bar and everything. Is that all going to be similar to last year, or are there some changes on that side as well?
Yeah, we've really tried to go bigger and better this year. All of our kind of elements around the light trail have always been super popular. The après ski bar and like you say, the mini chalets, but we've kind of taken that and really tried to improve the food village this year. We're working with some really great local independent food traders, and we've really kind of upped our game on the drink serves and the hot chocolates that are available in the mulled wine, and then of course the light trail, which every year we've so far tried to make sure we're improving, making sure it's different for people that have been previous years, so they're not coming to the same thing, they're coming to something completely new and hopefully even more spectacular.
I think that's really important, because if people have gone last year and enjoyed it and they're thinking, well, it was great, but it seems like this year's gone really quick and it doesn't seem like that long ago that you were walking around last year. This year's going to be different. Are there some things that people liked last year that you're bringing back, or is it all completely going to be changed?
There's a couple of things around the trail, maybe being used in a slightly different way though. We're really fortunate that a lot of the visitors take the time to give us some feedback on our survey after they visited the trail, and that gives us a really great indication as to what people liked, what they wanted to see more of, and really kind of what ticked the boxes for them. And certainly a lot of that stuff tends to surprise us sometimes. The bits that maybe weren't so grand and weren't so kind of wow were actually some people's favourite parts. So it gives us a really good steer on what to do more of on the next one. So people can expect to see some of their favourite bits, but just reimagined and hopefully in an even more wow kind of way.
That's really interesting. So the bits that we liked last year were the interactive installations. So there was, after you come out of the woods and you get to this big grass area, there was this incredible thing where you pressed a button and the lights kind of lit up this kind of sculpture in the middle, and there was sound and kind of almost like visual fireworks going up when you press the button. And I'd never seen anything like that before. So I don't know, was that popular with a lot of the visitors?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the most popular, and then similarly we had another drum elsewhere on the site in a previous year that was super popular. So we've really kind of run with that this year with the interactive stuff, and whether that is a similar way where someone hits something and it activates lights, and there's actually one this year where you don't even need to press something, there's actually just your movement influences how the light goes. And so lots more of that, and that was certainly a favourite for a lot of people.
Yeah, and you could see the kids really getting into it as well. And was it important for you to be conscious of all the different members of the family having something that they can get involved with?
Yeah, 100%. And, of course, the kids gravitate towards that kind of thing. But actually, you'll find a lot of the time the parents also tend to be into the same things. And certainly us as a team, when we first go around and do a trial run, there's certainly a bit where we stop and everyone's wanting to have a go on the big drum or on the stepping stones or whatever that may be. So, I think although it's obviously there primarily for the kids' interest, I think for sure the adults get something out of it as well.
It must be really fun designing this kind of thing and just letting your imagination take over, because I guess you can do pretty much anything that you can imagine if you decide that that's something that you want to put some of the investment towards.
100%. We're really fortunate to work with a great production company called Network Productions, and we like I said earlier, we start with them very early in the year. And we go through the customer feedback, and we visit as many light trails as we can over Christmas as well, and that gives us a chance to sit with them and just really map out what we want to do. And it's just amazing to see certainly also how they use certain lighting products that actually, we do some summer events and festivals, and some of these lighting products are what we have on stage at festivals, but it's just the way they're used on the light trail gives them an entirely new perspective. So it's a really interesting process to put it all together.
And it must be challenging to make it weatherproof as well, because it's out there in all weathers, and we've had a particularly wet autumn this year, so I have a feeling that it's going to be a soggy one as we get closer to Christmas. Although we have had a few snow flurries this week, so you never know. It could be a bit of a winter wonderland. But making some of these light installations weatherproof, something that might look amazing on stage, and then kind of reimagining it for an outdoor setting must be one of the difficult bits.
Yeah, a number of the parts about kind of making everything as weatherproof as we can, because ultimately we are in a woodland for the most part at the end of the day, and although it's Delapre is just a stunning venue, all around, but it does mean that we have to give a lot of attention to wood chipping pathways and exactly as you say, making those light installations weatherproof as well. And sometimes that's as simple as a big kind of sort of transparent bubble that goes over some of the things to make them purely rainproof, and other times it is about finding equipment that can just take a bit of water and whatnot, and is designed for being outside. But then there's also other elements such as for example the stepping stones we've had in previous years. Have to do a lot of work to make sure those are slip proof, because as you say, it tends to be the great British weather doesn't favour us in things like this, so we have to make sure that everything goes, and that is that's a big part of the planning process.
Yeah, and I'd imagine also getting the power around the entire mile of the circuit must be incredibly challenging, because you've got to obviously make sure that that's weatherproof, but have the cables there and just make sure that it's not visible as well, so people aren't kind of climbing over big long cables all the time.
Yeah,
very clever.
Absolutely. There's an awful lot of work that goes into distributing the power and the cables, and then as you say, sort of making sure also not so much that they're out of the way, but also that they're just kind of not visible from anywhere, because the trail, although it's a mile long, there are certain sections that you're kind of beside a previous section without maybe knowing it, and so in order to make sure that those generators, because they do make a bit of sound obviously, and they are quite large, so keeping them out of the way sometimes becomes a chore.
Yeah, no, I find it fascinating, the technical infrastructure of this whole thing, and kind of making it all come together. But from the public's perspective, it's just an incredible magical experience as you walk through, and you're not thinking about how it's done. You're just wowing at the visual spectacle of everything, which is what it's all about, really. And I guess this has been going for a number of years now at Delapre Abbey, and it seems to be getting bigger and larger and more popular every year. So looking forward to see what 2025 has got in store. Are there any kind of little previews that you can give us? Any little hints as to what people can expect? Because we don't want to give away the secret of everything.
Yeah, for sure. And it is sometimes we want to also on our social media, we want to put some previews out, but it also we don't want people to see stuff too early. But one thing that I can kind of go into is that the section you described earlier, where the illumination was that was interactive, there's a Christmas tree going in there that is more than a Christmas tree, but I'll leave that to be a bit of a surprise when people get there. But to say it's tall is an understatement. It's it's a very, very big structure, and it does some really impressive kind of mind-blowing effects alongside it, and we had it in one of our other trails in Stoke-on-Trent last year, and it was an absolute favourite amongst everyone that visited, so we're sure it's going to be a big hit at Delapre as well.
That's brilliant, and I think that's kind of how it works, that sometimes people go on the first few days and they just can't stop telling people about it because it's so amazing, and then the tickets sell for the last few weeks, and probably people are disappointed when it all gets packed away again at the end of the Christmas period. Yeah,
absolutely. We do notice that there's a lot of word of mouth that goes in, and I think also some people in the kind of way the world is at the minute, and with what's going on sort of economically and whatnot, I think people do like to maybe not book too far in advance for things like this, but sometimes that does potentially get them missing out on some of those slots they want, but it's for sure word of mouth plays a big part.
How long would you say you should allow for a visit to this? I mean, you've got the mile to walk around, which you're going to want to take your time, so that's going to take a while, plus all of the extra activities and exhibits and things that you've got there.
Yeah, we like to recommend to people that it's really their experience to have. We have these 20-minute entry slots, which is where you've booked to come in from. as soon as you're in, though, that's entirely down to you for how long you want to do it. And it can take, I think, minimum, realistically, if you were to really blitz through and not stop anywhere, you'd need about 45 minutes plus. But a lot of people understandably like to take their time. They like to have a picture in front of some of the installations. They like to have a couple of selfies. There is a pit stop area with toasting marshmallows and a small bar and some food options. So, I mean, it can, like I say, some people take, an hour and a half plus to go around. And that's, from our point of view, we really recommend to people just take it at your own pace. However quickly or however long you want to take over it is entirely up to you.
I can't imagine people rushing around like they've got a bus to catch. It's like, I've got to see everything, quick, got to go. I'm only allowed 45 minutes. I think you should really plan ahead and make sure that you're not caught short. And I guess there's stuff to enjoy whatever the weather. So, even if it's raining, you can still enjoy the lights and the atmosphere, and hopefully a little bit of sprinkling of snow. So tell me a bit more about the other stuff outside of the light trail. So you've got the Festive chalets and the après ski bar and food.
Yeah, absolutely. The chalets have been just such a favourite fixture since we launched them at the first trail 5 years ago. And the bookings for those we see every year, they get more and more popular. It's effectively, you can get kind of 8 to 10 people in there comfortably, and it's just a really great spot once you finish the trail or before you start to just congregate with friends, family, and it just gives you a great spot to either debrief on what you've just all seen and what your favourite bits were, or getting warmed up with a quick pre-drink before you go into the trail. So those have been a great fixture. Food traders wise, we've really always worked hard to make sure we're supporting local traders, and we're making sure it's kind of food trucks that operate within the area, and we've been blessed with some just amazing food over the last few years there, and we've got a few new traders that are joining us this year that have not been with us before, so we're excited about that. And then the après bar is, like I said earlier, we're really trying to kind of up our game on some of the serves there, and the hot chocolate being quite impressive, and mulled wine there is always a firm favourite with mum and dad for sure, and then and beers. And it's just what we like to think is that it's becoming a tradition for people now, that they kind of come, they do the light trail, they hang around for a while after having a drink and a debrief, and it's more than just coming to a light trail. It is a full festive night out.
Yeah, really, it feels like that when you get there. It's almost like you've gone to some kind of like Swiss mountain village in the Christmas time with the chalets and all the nice food and drink and stuff. So I would definitely recommend making an evening of it. Or is it only open in the evenings? Is it probably not something that you'd want to see during daylight?
I mean, I guess just by nature of what it is, it's just it doesn't really work by daylight hours. With that said, though, this year we've introduced Zen sessions on 3 or 4 of the dates, which are for people that maybe become a bit more overwhelmed by either flashing lights or loud noises or big crowds. So we've limited the numbers on those sessions. We've made them much earlier in the day, so I think they start from about 3:45, 4 o'clock. So it's getting dark enough that the lights have an impact, but it's not pitch black. And then we've also worked with our production partner to make sure that the sound levels are much quieter during those sessions. Anything that is sort of flashing or would take anyone by surprise, that's kind of dulled down a little bit. And then the music in the catering area for that little period afterwards is just that bit more quiet. So it doesn't really work in broad daylight, but like I say, we've introduced that this year, and that's been a really popular feature, and we're really happy to do that, because it's introduced to us a new set of visitors that maybe were a bit overwhelmed by coming previously, and it hasn't been something they've enjoyed, so it now gives them a chance to. Yeah,
no, that's great. And how accessible is it for people that use wheelchairs or have buggies and want to get around the forest?
Yeah, so that's obviously been a big challenge for us over the years in kind of making it as accessible as possible. We're working with a consultant this year on getting advice on anything we can improve upon. We're certainly always looking for ways to improve on that front, but we also know that accessibility customers are one factor, and then, as you say, parents with pushchairs and buggies are another. So where, as much as we can, we make it sort of as easy as possible on there. Ultimately, we are still in a woodland, so there's only so much we can do whilst respecting the kind of nature and the natural setting. We do advise if anyone is an accessible customer that really a kind of 4-wheel drive mobility scooter is recommended, because a traditional wheelchair would maybe have a few more difficult areas. But we also advise on our website kind of areas to maybe kind of fast track through or to skip, in order to make sure that you're not going into anywhere that might be difficult. And other than that, obviously we've got, wherever there's any kind of up or down terrain, there's ramps in there for pushchairs and for accessible customers. And then wherever possible, we're making sure that the pathway, even if a little bit damp at times, is still a terrain that can be gone over on wheels.
And I've just spotted on your website there's a Santa's Grotto as well. Is that part of the ticket price, or is that an extra thing that you can do with your children afterwards?
Yeah, that is an extra. The Grotto is a new one that we've joined forces with Delaprey on this year. They've done a Grotto previously. It's proved hugely popular, obviously, because the kids want to get their wish list in early doors to Santa. So yeah, that's something that people can come down and again do before the trail, after the trail, and it's, like I say, it's proved really popular. I think if anyone listening was looking to bring the kids to meet Santa, it is worth getting ahead, as with the trail, to make sure they guarantee a spot, because I know that a lot of the trail slots are filling up, and then also Santa's slots are becoming limited, because he's a busy guy over this period,
Yeah, he's in demand. So it opens on the 28th of November, runs through to New Year's Eve, and as you say, there's a finite number of 20-minute slots, so you do need to kind of book your slot, so you're not disappointed. How can people find out more and book their tickets?
So best place to go is winterlighttrail.co.uk. Easier option, you can just Google Light Trail Northampton with the first few answers that come up, and it will be easily accessible on there. And for sure, if you are looking for a specific time and date, then it's best to get ahead. There's a lot of sessions that are already sold out, a few more that are very limited, especially weekends in December obviously has become a very popular part, so well worth booking ahead to get ahead of the crowds.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you've got in store for us this Christmas. Thanks very much, Jonathan Ware from the Winter Light Trail at Delaprey Abbey.
Thank you.